Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to our weekly live futures breakdown where we're going to be looking at the markets here. Let me pull up my charts really quickly. One moment. Alrighty, perfect. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so I dropped a poll in the Telegram group yesterday just to see what everyone was trading. You guys know I usually like to go over ES. Let me drop a poll while everyone trickles in here just to see. A lot of people in the poll put that they were trading gold. So if that's the case, we can look at gold today. We can go over the price fluctuations. We can mark up our gold chart. Alrighty. Let's see. All right, so you guys pull up your charts, get your notebooks. What else are we doing today? I did have a article I wanted us to read. This is my current trade for ES that I was in since last night. I'll go over how I got there. Let's see here. All right, let me know what you guys are trading. Let's see. Let me share another screen really quickly. Alrighty, so okay. So far we have gold. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at gold. Let me pull up our price fluctuation charts. We'll grab our demos. If you're trading now, are you guys trading gold with Forex, so XAU USD, or are you guys transitioning over to the futures market? Let's see. I dropped a trade idea with gold. And I want to go over kind of how I want you guys to look at those trade ideas. So when I drop a trade idea, it's not your signal. It's not a signal for you to get into that trade with the exact parameters that I have set. My trade ideas are based mainly on structure. So for instance, this trade idea, I was looking at the market right around here. Let me see if I can clear this up here. Okay, so I was looking at the market last night around 10 p.m. before I went to bed. You know, I was looking at, we had some support here. We had a nice huge drops, you know, after price gave us the indication that it was no longer making a higher high. Ranged here for a bit, broke the structure, tried to, you know, retest that area, continued to drop. If I did a fib from this level, this low to this high here, the 50, 61.8 range was about, you know, right around here. Price did, and then the 786 was at this area. This was also the S0, S1. So a lot of support here. It dropped straight to this zone. And now, because of market patterns, chart patterns, things of that sort, we're expecting price to pull back. If it continues and breaks this structure for a continuation of the buy, That's why marking up our charts is so important, because it allows us to kind of not just go into the market just making irrational decisions. We're able to, find our setups, and that's really important, especially, you know, in this type of market. So once you know once you see those patterns, those chart patterns play out time and time again, our brains start to automatically, spot those. Our market gives us like a clear direction. We know exactly, or we have an idea, of what we're intending to do. If it doesn't do this, what we're looking for. So anyways, right? So drew a fib just to see if price was, from this high to this low, just to see if price was just going to come back, to this breakout area, 61.8 level, and continue to sell. Everyone thinks, I don't know how, we'll see. It's getting to really extreme oversold areas, but a lot of resistance here, but we're just going to follow the market trend. Anyways, so right. So once I got here at 10, I drew a fib from this low to this high to see, how far the market may pull back. That's going to help me set my stop loss, because I do not want, let's see. So anyways, you drew a fib from this low to this high. The 50 area was about right here. I sell that, we technically touched that area. So I was looking for a break above this high to enter into this trade. That would have given me my confirmation that the market is still making higher highs. I would have set my stop loss kind of below, not exactly where our previous low was, just to give liquidity, some room there. So set my stop loss, around here. And once price broke above that level, that's a chance for you and that trade idea to have an alert here set. It would tell you, okay, according to your trading parameters and your risk management, where would you want to set your stop loss level? I had a stop loss at 11 points. I was going to sleep. I needed to give it some room. You may look at a trade idea and you're not able to give your trade that much room. You might need to adjust it right, below this level. If it goes below this wick, you're out. You can only risk 10 points. Some others might have a really tight stop. So it's just an idea for you to look out. You would go then to, usually the trade ideas are on the 15-minute. You then go to the 5-minute, because you're not always going to see the trade ideas as soon as I send them out. So you might need to, sometimes you're going to miss that entry. It's just an idea of, different levels and entry points for a continuation, of a trend or a counter trend. So you take those trade ideas, you take those areas, your target points that I've set out that I'm looking at, either based on fib levels, pivotal zones, different things like that. And you adjust according to your goals, your risk management, your type of trading strategy, or how you enter and exit the market. Maybe you don't need 32 points per day. Maybe you only need 10 points to reach your goal. Your stop loss parameters are moving your stop into profit as well. So, once we are in profit, price does not always reach that ultimate TP area. Once you have like an area of support, such as, this price right around this 67.22, definitely want to move your stop into profit. This is reaching also this fib zone. So price is kind of touching. Let me clear this up for us. So if I would have dropped that trade idea, that's how you would have used that to help you get an entry into the market. So anyways, price is touching this 61.8 area. This is also, the R8. This is on the 5-minute. It's also near the R8, which is a resistance, level here on the 15-minute. So we would definitely want to, move our stop in profit if we are in profit, because what may happen? Price may continue to come up to the 61.8 level. It may continue to go to the 786 level, back to this breakout area here. However, we have to take that with a grain of salt because our pivot levels haven't shifted up there yet, to give us that indication. We do have our RSI giving us, this little peak here looking like it wants to continue. So definitely want to check your support area, because if it breaks below that support, we're no longer in that buy for right now. Price may come down here to this, sell down here to the 60, this S1, S0 level. Continue to buy. You know how the market does. We have those little, higher highs, higher lows. However, we want to secure our trade, follow market trend. So this was a low. This was our next high, lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high. This is our next lower low. So that's where we want to place. If you were in this trade, protecting your trade, making sure you don't get wicked out. And if you are stopped out of your trade, you have it in a great position, because then it means that the market is no longer, moving in that momentum. All right. Okay. So you guys, let's see. What is our chart saying? Okay. So we have YM, we have gold. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. Anyone think they're going to be able to make it to, I know it's short notice. Y'all know I'm all over the place. To Atlanta for the trade-a-thon and have any questions? Drop it in the chat. That's for what? November. What's my calendar? No, I'm sorry, October. Also, is anyone going to be in South Carolina, or is it North Carolina for the seafood festival next month? Ooh, let me know, because I will be there. We can definitely link up and trade, hang out. Okay. So you guys, gold, let's see, we have gold and we have YM. Let's go ahead and mark those up. We'll start with gold since it has the most votes. Now, are you guys looking at XAU, USD, or are we going to mark up GC? Which chart? The only difference, of course, is the pricing there. Forex, goes by each individual broker. We have the standardized pricing, with the futures market, which makes it a lot easier. Talk to me, guys, because you guys know I'm just going to end up just picking GC. Let me drop, let's see here. Let me grab our chart here for our price markups. Let's see, GC. Whoa, it won't let me do it. Let's see. All right, so to gold we go. Okay, Kelly's here, Greg's here, Charlotte's here. Alrighty, so we got 2 votes for futures, 1 vote for XAU USD. And so, Kelly, you were outnumbered. Again, we'll go ahead, we'll mark up the GC chart just because we'll be able to put it in our demo and just, demonstrate that. But we'll drop the trade idea on a forex chart as well with Oanda. I got you, Kelly. All righty, here we go. Okay, so let me see here. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. Ugh, that looks horrible. Let's see. Sorry, y'all. Trying to get our price fluctuation chart here. There we go. Okay. Okay, so this was for GC, and then I'll also drop the chart for the micro. So MGC, cool. What do you guys like about trading? You guys know I love gold. How are you guys faring out with trading gold with futures? Gold structure. Alrighty, here we go. Okay, so I got to stop sharing, reshare entire screen. Here we go. Hey, Abdi. How are you? Up and down, Charlotte, about gold. Alrighty, so let's see. So Abdi, right now, no, no risk, no Ferrari. I like that. I like that. I'm gonna put that on a poster somewhere. Okay, so let's go ahead and mark up gold from the very start. Okay, so take a screenshot here of your gold price fluctuations. So for GC, if you're just, if you're not in the micros here, and you're just trading it any 5 points, that GC moves, so that gold moves, that's $100 per point. So 5 points, and that means like one whole dollar point. So if we were at 38.08 and we went to 38.09, that's considered 1 point. So, 38.10 to 38.15, that's 5 points. That would be then $100 per point, $500 profit. So if you are trading a futures challenge, like with Top Step, and you're in a $50,000 account, and you only have $2,000 worth of drawdown, do you think it would be wise to be trading, GC, or should we, kind of scale it back? Because even though you have $50,000 worth of buying power, you do not have $50,000 of risk there. You have $2,000 worth of risk. So I always say trade that account as if your account balance, your risk, like, your total drawdown, the most you can risk for that account is your account balance. So trade that account as if you only have $2,000. Would you be trading GC with $2,000 account? Hell no. So, well, shout out to Coach Day, because Coach Day taught me that. I don't want to take that. Well, now I do say it too. So now I can say, like, me, Coach J, and I say that. But anyway, screenshot this here. Your micros, so those 5 points. So if we were at 38.10 and we increased to 38.15, it's only $10 per point. That's a little bit more easy, to work with. So that would be a $50 profit. Because you can add on to your positions, I would work with the micros. So you would get in your position, maybe with 5 contracts. Once it is moving in your favor, or if price, if you're in a buy, makes a higher high, you want to add to your position, and just add onto your trade idea instead of just going full-fledged, So, alrighty. Let's see here. Okay, did you guys take a screenshot of this? Can I make this screen full now? Who's ready? If you're ready to mark up GC, let me know you guys are here with me. Put ready in the chat. Let's see. So I know I'm not talking to myself. Hello. Kelly's ready. Kelly is always ready. I love that. All right, we have no news today, which is great. Not for US currency anyways. Let's see. Okay. All right, so you guys know the drill. Let's go ahead and start off at the 4-hour level. We're going to go back about 3-4 months. So we'll take it back to, around here, July, and we'll start from there. What do you guys see right here? Can you guys already identify a support level and a resistance level just on the 4-hour here? Is it easier to see? I know on the 4-hour, we have our, where we have our steps there, but I was just wondering, can you guys see like this area of support right up here, this area of resistance in this price zone where we have our break and continuation of the buy? Whose eyes are getting accustomed to spotting support and resistance? Yep. Okay, Kelly saw it. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. We'll go back a couple of months, September, August, July, June. We'll just go ahead and mark up our 4-hour low, which would technically be this point. Right now, our 4-hour high was at that price point, 38, about 38.30 here. Our low right here at 31.18. Going back here to May. We can, it was May. Okay. Let's bring it up a little bit current here. Let's bring it up to the low areas here, more so in June. Let's bring it up to 32.80. Okay, so we have our low, we have our high. We can also mark, whatever comes to mind, or whatever is like, not comes to mind, but what is easiest that we spot? What are some key levels that's standing out that we want to mark up just because they were major areas in the past and we know how those areas come back in the future? Okay, so we can put this as a 4-hour area of resistance. Alrighty, so we see, right here at around 3,500, those big psychological price points. We know for gold, those nice round numbers, $100 increments, $50 increments, $1,000. So 3,500 major area here. Price tried to break above this area quite a couple, a few times. 1, 2, 3, boom. It was able to do so. The end of August here, we had, liquidity, but those candles, remember this is a 4-hour chart. So let's zoom in here. So finally, we have a break of structure and price continuing to make higher highs. Alrighty, so now we have a new area of support. We can zoom in to a little bit more recent. Is this where, do you guys see why, we have this area here as support? And again, just an area. So if you had your box, down here with, this candle, the lowest candle out of this support, or if you mark this entire area, because again, nothing's exact in trading. I would say always, if you can't really um, identify that support area clearly, start like where your S0 or your S1 is, start your box there and kind of bring it over and adjust. So what do I mean? So if I couldn't find this area, I see my S0, my S1, that would be around here. So now I'm telling myself, okay, now let me adjust it, bring it down to this next box here. Okay, so now I have a more clearer area and, can bring, your box. You just want to basically label if price comes back out to what area, maybe we have some support. And if it breaks below that area, you're no longer, you know what you're looking for. The sellers have taken over. This is no longer a major area of support. Remember, this is the 4 hour. So we had multiple times where price came back here to the 3660 kind of zone. And we're unable to push price lower. Okay, so we have higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low technically, well, kind of equal lows to this, but still higher than this previous low near the S0. And price just continued to make higher highs, higher lows, all the way up until now it's near our R8 level. So we're expecting what happens at the R8 level. Let me know, chat. Typically, what happens? Is this an area of support or an area of resistance? I need y'all to work with me. I'm trying to teach you guys how to get into and out of the markets. Resistance. Oh, look. Hey. Welcome. Exactly. Resistance. So we're looking for price to kind of sell around when it gets to this price point. If it breaks above this area, we get then we know that price has a continuation of a buy a buy. But we would need that confirmation. We would need that break of structure. We would need our candlesticks to let us know what's going on. Possible reversal. Exactly, Greg. Okay, so now we do not have, so right here, gold has been making higher highs. Okay, again, we're looking at GC here. It's been futures. It's been making higher highs. We do not have historical data to kind of give us an idea of where price has the potential to go next. So that's when you can go to another time frame, a higher time frame. So now we can go to the daily and see if we have any pivotal levels. Where's our next pivotal level? So as we can see on the daily time frame, we've already passed that R8. We're now at the +1 kind of area here at 38.28. Our next zone is 39.06. That's on the daily time frame. So we take that with a grain of salt. We can mark that price area as daily +2. That can be your next TP area until we get, once price breaks above and makes a higher high at 38.30, we'll probably see, a pivotal shift on the 4 hour and we can adjust. But right now we are taking what we have so that we can kind of predict our moves. And that is what, near 39.06. Alrighty, so back to the 4 hour. Alrighty, so that's if price breaks, continues with that, with the trend, does not, give us a little reversal or a little pullback, and continues to buy. We have a new area. We have a new like destination kind of zone. Alrighty, but if it breaks below this box and does as we are expecting, we are anticipating it to do as it has done in the past. So price leaves the S0, comes back here to the R8, has some resistance, maybe pulls back here to either this P4, this, which is also, as we can see, kind of where price kind of broke. We had some resistance here, then we had that break of structure. So, we usually have that break, retest, that's near the P4 level here. So that's around 37.40. Let's go ahead and throw on our fibs. Okay, look, our 50.61.8 level is right around this, around the same area. So that tells me that that's a strong magnetic zone as on the 4 hour time frame. That's where our major structure is. So if price breaks below this level, below this wick here too, starts to make lower lows and lower highs, we can set our take profit, our overall take profit. Again, this may not happen today. As you can see, this price started at the S0 on September the 18th. Here it is, the 24th. Well, it's kind of fast, smart. Anywho, where is my, oh, here we go. All right. Is everyone following how, how we're marking up what we're seeing? We're identifying what's going on at our major structural level, because this is what the market, this is where overall we have, especially with gold, loves to follow structure. We have major investors investing. Everyone's looking at, we have a lot of, the banks and huge money looking at these higher time frames, the 4 hours, the dailies. We have, small money. We can't risk, as much as those, institutions. So we have to zoom into the lower time frame and really perfect our entries and exits. They don't have, we don't have the luxury of doing that. So this is important. Okay, so then if price breaks below this 50 area, continues to sell, we have already another take profit zone, which is our S1 786 level, which is what, 36.93, kind of around that area, 94. So we have another take profit zone. And if it continues to push even lower, once we see that momentum, then, it may come back here to this support zone. So first TP, the most likely area that price is going to come to if it breaks this structure is, our P4, 37.50. Next, 37.42. Then we have 37.23. And then if it pushes even further, we have 36.95, around these areas. If it makes sense, drop some threes in the chats if you guys know. So this is like your weekly If you were marking up your charts, let's say if it was Sunday, this is what we would be looking at as to, we would be looking for, sell setups or buy setups. If, we had that break, we already have our take profit levels kind of set up. So we're taking a lot of the cognitive load. We have a lot of decision making while we're trading, and we really want to reduce that. And that's what marking up your charts really helps you to do. All righty, so let's go ahead. 1 hour time frame. Let's take a look to see what the 1 hour is telling us. We can zoom out just a bit. Cool. Okay, so still have support around the same area. So this is kind of 1 hour support as well. Still near the S0. The 1 hours come up here to the R7, R8 level as well. Same kind of consolidation box. We kind of see that price. Let's zoom in here. We see that, prices formed a level of support here at 37.87. Buyers weren't able to take price, above this 38.20 kind of level, push straight back down here into kind of this, where we had this original break for this buy. So we're just consolidating, just bouncing around here. We're oversold on our RSI. Again, we would be using the same kind of fib. Same thing from this low to this high. So it's kind of the same fib area on the 1 hour. Same exact kind of move. If it breaks below here, we're looking at these same kind of price point levels, target levels for TP. Again, momentum, volume, the market's going to, give us the indication, if it's going to push lower. We just follow, the market. Typically, we see the market come back to this area and then, start to reverse and continue with that buy. We'll see what happens here because remember, we're so oversold on the higher time frames. So it's following the market. Look for momentum on the 30-minute. It's just kind of telling us the same thing. And now the 15-minute is typically where we set up our trades. Alrighty, so let's zoom in on the 15-minute. We already have, the information on our major structure. Let's look. This is where we would set up our entry points or see if we have a trade setup available. Okay, so we would have set an alert at our S0 or even our S1, our R7, and our R8. Once we would have received an alert yesterday around 10:15, letting us know that price has reached, this S0 level. We would have taken it down to the 5-minute time frame to see if that was also an area of support as well, because we would have been setting up for a buy. Right around here. This would have been our ideal area to get into the market. Right? We have this buy, this RSI, this buying momentum. So what would we have done here? Coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I'm showing you guys once your alert would have went off, it would have been 10. We're up. Cool. So price would have still been making lower lows. Once you saw this green candle kind of come in here, it pushed down just a little bit lower, as we can see liquidity, but we're near this area where we have resistance. We have our RSI being oversold. So we wouldn't have got sucked into thinking, okay, yeah, price is going to continue to go lower. No, we give it a minute. And now once we would have seen, we have this wick here. That's where we would have set up our trade above that wick. Remember how I say I like to set up my trades according to structure? So once price would have broken above this area, that would have been my key or my signal that it's making higher highs. And so typically, so I would have set this up, around here at, 10:15, 10:30, but I wouldn't have got, triggered into the trade until around 10:45. What's my TP area? If I would have been going to sleep, we always know that price doesn't, always go up to the R8. So I would have set my TP right here at the R7 at 38.06, and boom, around 1:30 a.m., our trade would have hit for 17 points. Do the math. That would have been insane. If you were up or if you set another alert. My trading view alerts on my phone, they don't ever wake me up. I barely hear, like if I'm around and I'm doing stuff, but they're not going to wake me up at 3 a.m. in the morning. They used to, when I was trading the London Open, but I'm in like REM sleep at that time. You do have the opportunity, if you want to maximize your trade, of course, setting your, TP at the R8 for, an additional 3 points, setting your alert at R7, just so that, to come take a look at your trade, remove your trade, your stop into profit. And if it's giving you that continuation of like buying momentum, then definitely, you can adjust your take profit area. So that would have hit your next signal. So now you're up here. So now your trade hit profit. We saw that the take profit area, we were near this R8. We might have gotten, sucked into this sell here because we're at the R8. We're looking for sells. So this may have been one of those trades that it was like, okay, goodness, we're supposed to get into, this short here. You wouldn't have we wouldn't have known, that these candles were here. So if we had a tight stop, we would have had our stop loss down at this level. However, especially if you were going to go back to sleep, we look to our left, see where our other candles kind of had liquidity and where there was resistance there. That's where we would have set our stop, just a little bit above this level. Where would have been our take profit? Again, take profit would have been here at this, S1, S0 kind of level. Let's see, that would have hit, here we go. So once we got, let's just say, once we're at our R8, once we would have had that break, we would have looked over here. If we would have set our stop loss according to, this most recent high, we would have gotten stopped out, which would have been okay, I guess, because, we would have had a new opportunity to get back in the trade. But again, it would have kind of been around the same area. So that's why it's like, give yourself some room. Set your contracts at a size where you can risk 7 or 8 points, especially in those kind of hours where you're not looking at your trade or not really monitoring it. But the volume is slower. So I feel sometimes if I'm gonna, during the day, like after the New York Open, y'all, I'm not even gonna lie, setting a trade and kind of walking away and doing stuff, that is not my bag. That's so hard for me. But at night, I feel more confident because the volume isn't so crazy. There's no news going on, no headlines. The market is just doing what the market's going to do. London session is a very huge session, Asian session, so, but you got to give it some room. So anyways, if we would have set this trade here at this R7, it kind of came down here to the S1. And then what did our momentum tell us? It was, buying, came back up, didn't really come, excuse me, back, still making lower lows, lower highs. So let's take a look here. So now let's just say, all right, so we have a trade idea here. We didn't get a chance to get into it because we were asleep. We just got in and we're like, oh, shoot, Fatima just dropped this trade idea. How do I get into this trade idea? Okay, so we have the parameters here. First, we would have did our whole, analysis to make sure that, we are still in a selling trend, that, this trade is still valid, and that we do have, a chance to get, but it hasn't hit, this overall TP level. So we would take a look to see if there's still an opportunity for us to get into that sell. Alrighty, so what's the 5 minute telling us? So the 5 minute RSI is oversold. Looks like we're having some buying momentum. Okay, remember we're still within a consolidating range in box. So, this is very tricky. We never really want to hold trades for too long. We really want to, once price kind of came down to this area and we got, price making higher highs. It took out all of these higher highs on the 5 minute time frame. Let's see about the 15 minute. Did it make, well, technically, let's see if this really works. Higher high, higher low indicator. Sometimes I'm having trouble kind of identifying that, and it's taking from, you can look and see. So this was, the high. This was technically the higher low. So we definitely will see if price kind of breaks above this 3804 area here. That would be, if we were getting into a new trade here, that would kind of be, right around here, my stop loss. So just enter if you're having trouble figuring out, what kind of parameters to put in for your trade. What do we know so far? What are we looking for, guys, right now? Buys or sells? We have our stop loss. We're trying to look to see if we're having the opportunity to get back into this trade, or if it's hit the TP point and we're, continuing on that buy. So you always start at, the higher time frame. Again, we're in a consolidating range. We're seeing that, it's near this level. We're oversold, still kind of looking for sells. But now we're just trying to figure out where can we re-enter this type of kind of trade idea. All right, so price now, as we can see, it's kind of bought, sold, and so now we're in a funky little range within this kind of trade as well. Let's see, let's kind of clear this up. Sorry, 1 second. All right, it's 8:51. So again, we gotta have this consolidating box. I'll remove it, but just so that you guys see that price is, just bouncing around from 37.96 to 3804. And we're just really waiting for it to basically break below this area for a short, kind of break below this box, but really just this kind of range here. Moving our stop loss to above, this wick here. So that's 10 points. Now, would you get in a trade like this? It's not ready, so we would wait. Again, we're going to go to the lower time frame. So we're just setting our parameters here. We know, at least you just put in where you know you would need to enter after, price breaks this area. You know where you're going as far as your TP1, 37.91, TP2, 37.90. You know where your stop loss needs to be, And now you're just perfecting your entry. So if price breaks above this high, but out of this box here, we'll see what it does, how it reacts at 38.06. You can even bring it down to the 1 minute just to see what's going on. Okay. So now at the 1 minute, it's near our R8. This is where you can adjust your trade. Now, if it breaks below this level, see, we're oversold. Then once your trade is activated and we have, price making lower lows, then you can, adjust your risk. Now this is like a confirmed, area of resistance. So you can, reduce your risk. And this is how you would re-enter, a trade idea to see if it hasn't hit, that take profit level yet. All right. Any questions? Any questions before we go ahead and set this up in our demo? You guys are so quiet. Let's see. Let me just stare at the chat for a little bit. Let me stare at the chat, see if that makes you guys speak. Okay, so cool. We've set up our trade idea. Now we're doing our micro gold here. Perfect. Alrighty, we were on the 1 minute time frame. Oh shoot, it's already made a lower low. Okay. Oh, perfect. So we're getting into that sell. We said we were going to do.
Order rejected.
Oh, shoot. No. Jeez.
Order filled.
Alrighty. Now let's set it up. So we were got it in here at 3,800. Our take profit is going to be down here. This is, of course, the 1 minute. So you may see some resistance. 1 minute is good to show like where we may, see our next resistance level, which would be around 37.94, which if we look to the left was also where we kind of had that, support level. I don't know why I'm saying resistance. We had this support level in the past as well. So once price on the 1 minute kind of reaches around this area, we may see a little bit of a pullback. That may be, that's still about 10 points, about 5 points there. No, excuse me, about 7.6 points there. Oh my God, 94. We're at 30. Yeah. Oof. So that may be enough for you to reach your goal. Go ahead and you can notate that so that on your screen around on your charts that around 37.95 to 37.93, that may be a support level. That may be, an area that you go ahead and you take, some off the table. Let's see here. So let's see, not risking more than 250. Definitely went into the trade with 5 micro contracts. Of course, you can go in with just one, wait for the trade to go into your direction, and then you can add, additional positions. I was just confident in our trade. I wish we would have gotten it. We kind of got it around our area. We got it 90. 799.7. So that's close enough. We know that we're in a consolidating range, so we're expecting price to kind of just do this before. We're not making like smooth, we don't have smooth moves like this right now. We're having that little choppy movement. So bouncing around back over here to the R7, the R8 coming up around, where there was previous levels of resistance. That's going to be what is going to happen. We're consolidating and consolidating within consolidation. So hopefully the New York Open is coming out up in about 30 minutes here. That should push our market in a more permanent direction. We're still making kind of lower lows here. Kind of had a little bit of a pullback, around 6:30 time frame. Still hasn't made, these higher highs. We'll be very cautious when price comes up around this area to see if there's a break. We'll just wait to see how our trade plays out here for our sell. Once price kind of, breaks out of this box, around the 37.96 area, that would be a potential area to add onto your position. Again, not all the time does price even come to the S1. Came pretty close. That was close enough that if, you had set your trade, you would have been out and said that, your trade hit TP. There's a couple, points difference there. We are not, trying to be exact, trying to be right. We work with areas and zones. Okay, so how do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about setting up your trade from the very beginning, from the 4 hour, taking a look at, those major levels, setting up your take profit targets according to market structure and key levels. And now we have a whole play for today. And then, once price, reaches this support level, that's when we say, okay, do we still have momentum, selling momentum? Or is price going to continue? Because remember, this was our support area. Or is this where we're going to, take another buy up to the next level? So when you mark up your charts and you mark up these levels, that's perfect, because then they tell you once you reach that take profit level, you're supposed to be looking for, that gives you your, indication, your alarm there that you're looking for another setup in the opposite direction sometimes. Or, you never know, if price breaks below there, you have your pivotal shift, then we look at where was the next level where there was support. All right, so how does everyone feel today? And just remember, overall, if price does break below this level, where we would be looking for price to, go after that, which should be the 61.8, because again, we're oversold. So that's why, we can't, sometimes we zoom in too far where we forget, oh shoot, we might not buy at this level because price might continue to sell because, the 4 hour. So, alrighty, well, I'm gonna let you guys have your time here. We have our trade set up. Let me go ahead and put this on I got Kelly. 15-minute time frame. So basically we're just looking at the candles. We're not looking at price structure or anything. Price, just looking at candle structure because it should be the same. Right below the 15-minute candle. Alrighty. Should just be about the same, I should say. Oh. All righty, Miss Kelly, here you go. Let me just make sure. So not to the end of the box. Okay. So just about. All right, so Forex traders, look like this trade is set up. Let's give you this is with the Oanda platform, Oanda broker. So entry looks like 37.66. Exit looks like it's about 37.74. Take profit number one looks like 37.55. And again, this is for 11 points. So 1100 pips. Again, once we have a break at this level, break below here, which is 37.63, kind of that level, we can adjust our stop loss. We can add another position. You would move your stop into profit until price makes a higher. So you wouldn't move your stop into into profit until you see this higher low. Then you can move, your trade into your stop loss or your trade into profit, once it makes that transition. And that's how you would, secure your trades for that sell. You are welcome, of course. Screenshot this, share this with your friends. Again, a trade idea. But do you guys get how, you can use those ideas now, what they mean? You see how we set up our trade kind of once it breaks a support level. It broke this support level. That break of, the structure, just to, continue for that sell, how we, identified where we would place our stop, where we would take profits, and how we would adjust re-entering a trade. If we missed the original trade idea as well. So you know how to do it on your own. You know how to do it with some help. You guys are all set. All right. I have held y'all hostage for 1 hour while we were, reviewing gold here, setting up our trades. We're kind of back in this kind of pullback kind of area here. So, we're going to let it do what it does. Still not risking because it's coming a little near the, hey babe, coming near the New York Open. I'm going to give it a little bit of a room, not too much room here. This is in a practice account. So, and this is, of course, 150 practice account. So 200, 250, 300 on one trade. That's definitely within those parameters. We'll just let it do what it does. And then, of course, you don't need to go in with 5 contracts. Go in with what you feel comfortable with. That's just my default because, of course, I'm always thinking about me trading, the micro ES. And so got to stay focused. Alrighty, you are most welcome, Charlotte. You're most welcome, Kelly. Thank you guys for joining us while we went over trading gold before the New York session and setting up our trades here. This is our setup. We're in a bit of a pullback. Even if we get stopped out, we definitely know, well, if price keeps, making a higher high, and we might, you look at your candlestick patterns, make sure that it just wasn't a liquidity grab. You look at your 1 minute, make sure that that's not near just going up to an R8 level. And if it is, what do you have? You get in for a buy then. We got to be flexible. Then you have your take profit, points here. Remember, we're in a range. So it's not guaranteed that we're going to just make that nice smooth movement. We might just bounce back up here just to, come back down again. So very tricky with gold right now. We really want to see kind of in getting into the markets with these nice moves here. So nice green candles, all this little, all these wicks, very, very nerve wracking. But if you are trading it, again, trading with a small contract size and just following the momentum of the market, but using the higher time frames as your guide, because that's where the structure is, that's where the market's really going to follow. Alrighty, I will see you guys again soon. Remember, no class. We're doing every other week. So let's see. Probably, oh yeah, October 1st. I'll see you guys on October 1st. Have a great trading week, great trading day. Remember, if you're signed up for the trade-a-thon, we're dropping trade signals, getting that money. Well, not trade signals, excuse me, trade ideas so that we don't miss these moves in the market. Alrighty. Y'all have a great day.